place in our boardroom at 4601 Sauk Trail, Illinois. Sauk Trail, Richland Park, Illinois. Okay, we've had the call to order and the roll call. The next item on the agenda is audience to visitors. Is there any member of the audience who would care to address the board?
Mr. President, there are only employees present.
Okay. The next item on the agenda then is approval of policy number 1:06, uniform grievance procedure. You have a copy of the uniform grievance procedure in your board book and have had it in time to review. Can I have a motion, please, to adopt policy number 1:06 entitled Uniform Grievance Procedure?
I move to approve that.
And I'll second it.
Been moved by Dr. Radner and seconded by Dr. Meyer. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Mr. President and board members, in May of 2020, the federal government passed a law that indicated that all school districts were, in essence, to enhance their policy that had to do with sexual harassment. And I say enhance because I'm assuming that most of us had in existence current policies, but you'll see that the uniform grievance procedure and the accompanying policy is a lot broader in scope because it includes Title II, Title IX, sexual harassment, the Rehabilitation Act, Civil Rights Act, and on, as well as breastfeeding accommodations for students, bullying, misuse of funds, etc. So this establishes by policy directive a procedure if anyone, not only an employee, but anyone in our community that feels that there has been an injustice in terms of the way that we have dealt with an issue with them, this establishes a procedure. Our harassment officer or grievance officer is Yvonne Williams. Also included in the policy in terms of process is Craig Englert. And then, of course, the last level of appeal at that level would be to me as CEO, and then, of course, ultimately to the board. But Southland has had, ever since its inception, a sexual harassment policy in place, a bullying policy in place. We have never addressed breastfeeding or anything of that sort, but now we do have something in this policy, and if there were an issue. But if I could bring to the attention of the board, when we recently did a rehab, we do have a breastfeeding room that's available. Now, to be quite honest, we never thought that this would be a room that was available to students, although it very possibly could be. And I simply say that because we've never had a pregnancy here at Southland, but there is a designated labeled breastfeeding room, and we were actually in compliance with all of these other stipulations, but we did not have individuals in the line that were designated to hear a grievance and to make a decision.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Davis. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bean?
Aye.
Dr. Radner?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Dr. Meyer?
Aye.
Mr. Simpkins?
Aye.
Dr. Davis?
Aye.
Okay, I neglected to read all of my notes that I had written to myself. There's one other thing that I need to bring to the attention of the board, and that is charter school board training requirement has been mandated by the General Assembly. Attorney Robert Hall has forwarded a link for a webinar that must be completed by December 31st, 2020. It consists of 4 one-hour sessions. When it's completed, there will be a procedure to download a certificate indicating that you have completed the webinar. So I encourage all of you board members to complete the webinar before the 31st of December, following the link that Attorney Hall has provided, and then download the certificate of completion. Okay, the next item on the agenda is another policy, approval of policy number 1:07, Title IX, sexual harassment grievance procedure. May I have a motion, please, to approve such policy?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Member Simpkins, seconded by Member Murphy. Again, you have a copy of the procedure in your board book. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Bean, this is just the companion policy, but this particular policy addresses only sexual harassment. For the benefit of the board, we begin each school year, and this year was no exception, sharing with staff and administrators basically things that would be considered sexual harassment, unwanted attention, et cetera, et cetera. So I know that everyone is aware, but should there be a need, then now that there is a structure in place to specifically address sexual harassment.
Okay, good. Thank you, Dr. Davis. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bean,
Aye.
Dr. Ratner,
Aye.
Mr. Murphy,
Aye.
Dr. Meyer,
Aye.
Mr. Simpkins,
Aye.
Dr. Davis.
Aye.
The next item on the agenda is approval of an amendment of the student transportation contract with Kicker School Bus for the year 2020-2021. Again, there's a description of the amendment in the board packet. And in essence, it provides that as we, during the school year, either go from remote to in-school attendance, that Kicker would be available based on a stand-ready payment, would be available to provide transportation. May I have a motion, please, to approve the amendment to the transportation contract with Kicker School?
I move to approve the contract room adjustment.
Moved by Dr. Radner,
I'll second it.
seconded by Dr. Meyer. Discussion of the motion.
Mr. England, please.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. President, Board of Directors. As Mr. Bean indicated, the amendment to the contract really provides payment to the contractor, Kicker in this case, for transportation services throughout the 2020-2021 school year. What it does is it really anticipates all the various scenarios that may come into play, specifically at the beginning of the year, as we've had now, where school was closed and Kicker was not providing transportation. It essentially provides payment for 37% of the normal costs that Southland would have for transportation. And that's really to keep the contractor in business so that when Southland does resume in-person instruction, which we have planned right now for November 2nd, that they still have services in place. It also anticipates if we have to have a shortened shutdown, much like what happened last year when we came to the board with an amendment with last year's agreement, it would provide for 80% payment, and that would be in exchange for Kicker not laying off their drivers, because we would want them to keep their drivers on staff in the event that we were to come back within a couple of weeks or a month or whatever that would be. So rather than come back to the board throughout the year with adjustments to the contract for various scenarios, this contract really does a nice job of laying out all the different scenarios that may come up during the year and anticipating what those payments will be.
Thank you. I believe is very prudent for us to make those standby payments to ascertain that we have the services if and when they're needed. Is there any further discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bean,
Aye.
Dr. Radner,
Aye.
Mr. Murphy,
Aye.
Dr. Meyer,
Aye.
Mr. Simpkins,
Aye.
Dr. Davis.
Aye.
The next item on the agenda is approval of a contract with Base Child Care Services for 2020, 2021. For those of you who are not aware, Base has been an organization in existence for 15, 20 years that provides before and after school babysitting or child care services for students so that their parents can work. They provide those before school and then transport the kid to the classroom and then after school services until their parents pick them up. This year, this contract, as you have determined, provides those services for the children of personnel who are teaching in the district, so that their children who are before school age can be watched while they teach. That frees them up to teach or otherwise provide their administrative services. May I have a motion, please, to approve the contract with Base Child Care Services?
I move to approve the contract with Base Childcare.
Moved by Dr. Radner, seconded by
Meyer.
Dr. Meyer. Everybody's bashful today. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Yes, Mr. President. This is unusual for us to bring this to Southland, and I did want to just give some background on this, and then I'll ask Mr. Engler to discuss the financial end of it. But there are many, many issues out there that are brought to light as a result of the pandemic. Many of our teachers, not necessarily in this building, but as a whole, we're 82% female. And as you are well aware, some of the schools are on total remote. Some of the schools are on hybrid, and on and on and on. The CARES Act does provide for these teachers to take a child care leave of absence. And as Craig can certainly give you the details of that. However, it's my desire to hold our teaching staff in place. And to date, Southland has lost one teacher in the first week of school as a result of the pandemic. And let me just say, probably the mindset, it worries people, but it sometimes permeates your mind. And so therefore, he left us to take a leave. But there are women in this building, small number. We're talking about 3 children, but these children need care during the day, and they are on remote education with their little Chromebooks from other districts. So what we're doing is holding on to our long-term seasoned teachers by relieving the stress and providing childcare during the course of the school year. The numbers are very small here. I won't go into the 162 side of the house, but the numbers are sizable there because, well, many reasons, but they're sizable there. But this is something I believe that we should do. But more importantly, we're on the verge of bringing our children back, and we do need the experienced teachers in the classroom. So if we can provide this little amenity and relieve stress, then it will help us to help our own children when they return to school on the 2nd. But Mr. Englert, what kind of a financial obligation is this for us?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Davis. So as you see on page 2 in the compensation section, what it provides is for $285 per week for the children who are attending a Madison school. That's one of the 2 locations that Southland teachers can have their children go to depending on their age. And the other is $285 per week for the students that are housed over at Indiana school. And essentially what we're anticipating is that about a quarter of the students that will be participating in this program will be coming from Southland. And so that amount really represents about a quarter of the charges for those individual rooms. Again, one at Madison and one at Indiana school. As Dr. Davis mentioned, part of the CARES Act, there was the Families First Coronavirus Relief Act, which was passed and was made effective April 1st of 2020 and expires at the end of this calendar year so far. And what it does is it provides paid leave for up to 12 weeks for staff members whose children's schools are closed due to the pandemic, or perhaps their students are home e-learning. And so in order to avoid that, having staff members out to stay home for that 12-week period, by providing this childcare, we're able to keep them in the classroom.
This seems like a really smart strategy to support the teachers. You're absolutely right. You want your experienced teachers not to worry about their own children when they have to take care of the Southland children.
Is there any further discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bean,
Aye.
Dr. Radner,
Aye.
Mr. Murphy,
Aye.
Dr. Meyer,
Aye.
Mr. Simpkins,
Aye.
Dr. Davis.
Aye.
The next item is item 5, A through G. It's a series of personnel matters, either retaining or approval of resignation. May I have a motion, please, to approve item 5A through 5G?
So moved.
I second.
It's been moved by member Simpkins, seconded by member Meyer. In discussion of the motion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bean,
Aye.
Dr. Radner,
Aye.
Mr. Murphy,
Aye.
Dr. Meyer,
Aye.
Mr. Simpkins,
Aye.
Dr. Davis.
Aye.
Okay, item number 6 is approval of minutes from the prior board meeting of July 20, 2020. You have received a copy of the minutes in your board packet. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to those minutes?
No.
Hearing none, may I have a motion, please, to adopt the minutes of the board meeting of July 20, 2020?
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Meyer, seconded by
Dr. Radner.
Dr. Radner. Yes. I'm getting used to saying Radner and Meyer, and you give me Meyer and Radner.
Gotta mix it up a little bit.
Mix it up a little bit. Okay, keep me on my toes.
That's right.
On the motion, roll call, please.
Mr. Bean,
Aye.
Dr. Radner,
Aye.
Mr. Murphy,
Aye.
Dr. Meyer,
Aye.
Mr. Simpkins,
Aye.
Dr. Davis.
Aye.
The next is a report of the executive officer. I'm going to take something out of order. Mr. Englert, did you want to make the financial report now?
Sure. In tab 10, your final tab of your board packet, you'll see the financial report presented the same format that we do at each meeting. And what it does is it shows you the actual amounts from July up through September. And then everything you see from October on through the rest of the year really are projections. And right now, Southland is on track. We have our expenditures still projected out to be as we projected them when the budget was passed. And then we have some additional revenue that we are now anticipating for some additional federal grants, primarily a emergency federal relief grant that you'll see on there that's shown as a projected amount that we did receive most of already in August, and then some additional money through Title I and some other areas. But other than that, we're pretty much on track for where we should be at this time of the year based on the budget.
Okay. Any questions on the financial report?
Just one, the 21st Century Community Learning Center, those would be for after school hours? Is that what it would be? In which case, are you doing them virtually?
It's actually after school, and we have not yet begun to do after school activities, but there's also a Saturday program that did begin 2 weeks ago. The Saturday program, it's a combination of virtual and small group instruction. For example, the band, the Southland Band, even though we know it's over 100 children, by hour, the band director is able to bring in 10 students. For example, last Saturday he did percussion, and I'm not sure what he intends to do this week, but he has a 3-hour time span that he can bring in students with their parents' permission. And parents seem to want the children to come in because they are participating. There are dance classes on Saturday. We're going to begin choir, but the other classes, which would be math and robotics and science exploration and piano even, are virtual classes. As we move forward, we'll make a decision also based upon the community's willingness to allow the children to come out. It was very interesting this month. We did a live Honor Society installation with 20 students that came into the Honor Society and 4 of the officers. So that were 24 students that came in. The parents dropped the students off, and then they observed the ceremony through Google Meets. So we gave them time to get home before we started the ceremony. Then they came back and picked the students up. Wonderful experience, I think, for our young people, socially distanced, but we were able to honor them the way that they would normally. As a matter of fact, with the exception of the fact we had no food, I thought it was probably one of the most beautiful ceremonies that we've ever had. So that was our first time having children here in the building. And then we gave the ACT with approximately 141 students here in the building 2 weeks ago. And last week they gave the PSAT with approximately 130 juniors. And we have the SAT schedule. You're aware that all of these exams were canceled in the spring, but we contacted the various agencies and arranged for them to give them to our children, because after all, we feel that they need this data, the seniors in particular, when they go on to college. But the parents, it was very interesting. I know they thought about it before the students came in. We were about 97% of the seniors were in, about 85% of the juniors came in. But because of the new addition, we were able to manage them. There were no issues, but I was also very happy, and I saw the expressions on their faces, of really their eyes. That's all I can see as they came in, because this was the first time many of them had been in the building since March. So little by little, we're getting to November 2nd, and it's a journey. It's an evolutionary process, but I do feel parents some parents are ready for the students to come back. And so that's how the 21st Century Project is evolving, small group by small group. And I hear the laughter in the building from the students, and that's something that we have not had in a long, long time. So I'm happy about it.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Davis. If there are no questions on the financial report, then the next item on the agenda is a report from the Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to first begin with some thank yous and acknowledgements. This has been a very, very strange, I guess it's an odyssey, maybe it's a journey, whatever it is that we're on right now. In March, you're well aware that we went into a shutdown, although we're considered to be an essential support system for children. And so therefore we were asked to continue to feed our children in the community and continue to provide overall supervision and place a principal in each school. This is a large building, and most of our employees, administrators here did shelter in. You know what I chose to do, so I won't even mention that. But as time went on, all of our administrators are in. All of them came back, not because I asked them to do that, but because there's really been so much work to do. And thinking through this whole issue of how we protect the children from the virus and how we bring them back into our environment. But 4 people in particular that head the 4 committees that really are responsible for the document that you have and responsible for giving me good counsel. So this evening, Craig Englert is here. I personally want to thank him. I made myself into a nuisance. Every time there's a bulletin or an update, I'm calling him, and he always answers, and he always has that patience. But Craig is an analytical thinker, and he provides that balance to the educators that are on the committee. So thank you, Craig. I really, really appreciate it. And I never take that for granted. So, but also Doug Hamilton, he's a warrior. He was here every day. As you know, Doug is a retired superintendent, but he too has never in his 40-some years experienced anything like this. And I see Dr. Radner and Dr. Meyer, I know that they've never been through anything like this either, where this virus has changed our total lives. So he has been here helping. Also, Yvonne Williams, many of you know her. I know that she at first had some concerns, and then I guess she just said, well, it's time to go back. Because I looked up one day and there was Yvonne at her desk, and she's been by our side every minute. And she and Craig and Doug make just a wonderful team. And you possibly don't know Deborah Dusky, but she's our director of special ed. But what she has done is to become an expert on contact tracing, an expert and our liaison with the Department of Public Health. And she also manages the chart, the Excel chart that we maintain about who has had an exposure, who is quarantined and at home, and what their status is. And she has just done a wonderful job. But the 4 of them, I wouldn't have been able to do this without them. I just have to be very honest. I just wouldn't have been able to do this without them. And so I wanted to publicly thank Craig, and I know the others are listening. They've just been magnificent. But another person in the building that is not so much involved with this aspect of it, but is involved with the fact that all of our Southland students have an individual device. I know it's been a lot for him. He is our director of technology because not only do our students have a device, but we really have about 3,000 out there in the community. His expertise has been invaluable over the years. But now that the organization is under this kind of stress, I do want to tell you, Mr. Evans, that there's not a day that I'm not grateful that you're a part of this organization. And I know why Mr. Evans works. He is determined that this community will have his best, that we serve our community and our children to the best of his ability. But he's developed another skill, and that's talking to mothers and grandmothers who are just over the top. You know that remote education is interesting, and we may have given them Chromebooks that requires, in many cases, not the Southland students. I do believe that our Southland students probably give directions to their parents. They don't have a difficulty in getting on, but believe that it's a stress on the elementary. I know, because a grandmother came and brought 3 Chromebooks back and said, I can't do this anymore. So as we work through this, Mr. Evans, although it's probably not in his job description, is the patient person that talks everyone off of the ledge. And when they hang up the phone, they know more about how to help their child than they did before. And so I absolutely thank him for everything that he has done. Mark Walczak is not here, but I did invite board members who would and who live close to us to come and see this magnificent gym and field house. I say this, having been in God knows how many gyms, field houses over the years, that when you have an opportunity to visit here, you won't have seen anything like it. It is state of the art. We are not only proud about it, it is adding worth to the community, but it's also going to be, I think, the location for our graduation this year. I don't think this is going away, and I'm saying this publicly. I believe that in the spring, we're going to be on a hybrid, if we're lucky. I believe that we're going to have to socially distance in May and June, and those activities that we have for students will still have to be arranged in the same manner. You know that Southland had a beautiful, beautiful graduation last year in our Performing Arts Center. It will be even more so if circumstances do not allow us to bring crowds together, because now we have a place that is our own, and that we will be able to honor our parents and our students. But my thanks always to Mr. Walczak. He's on furnace duty now. We're changing over air conditioning to heating. But if he were here, and maybe he's listening, I do want him to know that he is so valuable to this organization. Having said all of that, attached is the hybrid pivoting plan. And you read this before, although we've made changes. We've come into compliance with the Illinois State Department of Public Health requirements, the N95 mask, the self-certification, the contact tracing, all of the things that really prevented us from opening in August now are in the new plan. But I will say this, I don't know if we anticipated this, and Mr. Evans, but the teachers, their response to the use of technology, I know in the beginning, Mr. Evans had some questions in his mind. They have embraced technology to the extent that every day there's something that they're doing to reach out to our students and to engage them and to interact with them. It's magnificent to see and to hear. They're in their little bubbles inside their classrooms. But this would not be the case if you, our board, had not approved us upgrading our system, upgrading our firewall, and providing all the technology that we need. So now we're on the verge of making this change. Now, around us, and you're looking at the news just as I am, there's a surge there's a surge. We don't know what that means or where it's going. We don't think it's flu. We do not think it's flu. Our parents communicate with us. We don't think it's flu. What we think is that there's a laxity perhaps on people wearing masks, etc. But you have not asked me, but I will tell you, here in this building, we had a security officer who was positive for COVID in May, and he recovered. We had a janitor, and I'm not giving names, who was very, very ill as a result of being infected with the virus. He was on a ventilator. He had had heart surgery the year before. Friday, he came and presented his doctor's statement to come back to work. Today, he walked in. He walked in and looked probably better than he did when he left, and so that's a very, very good story. And then we had a person on my personal staff. So and he has returned to work. So even though we've had these three challenges, I'm talking about specifically at Southland in our building, everyone is back. We march on carefully. I'm proud of our teachers also because I'm all over the building. They're all masked. They're all socially distant. They're being careful. And that's the way that we plan on moving forward in terms of reopening on the 2nd. To share with you the numbers, and we've lost a bit. Remember when I gave this report during the summer, we were at 45% parents wanting their children to have in-person instruction. Southland is now 38%. We're 38% in. So what does that mean? That means that we come back on an A-B schedule, but there are no more than 108 students in the building at a time. 108 students in this building is nothing. So you're looking at very, very small class sizes, but we will be utilizing our technology. And while the children who are there, students, young adults, are there in person, the teachers will be instructing remotely the students who remain at home. I do think that all the things that are happening in our world cause the parents to pull back, but strangely, it's just the opposite. And we won't get into the 162 numbers, but their numbers are actually higher than they were in the beginning. So I don't pretend to read what goes on in the mind of a parent because it is their decision to make. But that's where we are. And I'd like to answer any questions you have either about our reopening plan or about the numbers. That's where we are. 108 students. We'll be transporting them no more than 20 to 24 students per bus, if that, and carefully bringing them in. All over the building, there are temperature taking gauges, and we have some very sophisticated kinds of dispensers of hand sanitizer, etc. We're going to give it everything that we have, and our goal is to keep all children safe, and secondly, to give the best education we can, both to the children who are here in person and to the children who are with us remotely. Questions or comments?
I'm just glad that we have a leader who is essentially thinking through. And one of the interesting things is some of the stuff that you did in the past, like the additions to the school building, are now part of solving this pandemic problem. So we do the best we can, but it's very good that you're making these kinds of decisions.
The staff is under a lot of stress. I see it, I feel it, but they labor on. I know that everyone has families at home. No one is anxious to take home this virus, but I do feel that uppermost in their minds are the community and the children. And I just have to say this, even though we intend to do everything we can remotely, everyone knows that we're a stronger district, and I think most school districts are, with in-person education than we are remotely. It's just a fact. But the plan is also, when you look at when we close for Christmas, we do not have any faith in anyone saying that they're not going to interact with their relatives. We believe that there will be family dinners, there'll be all those kinds of things. And then there's New Year's Eve, and we have no idea because, of course, we'll be at home. But we do think that that's another opportunity for exposure. So therefore, in January, we will be down for 2 weeks. That will mean that the 14 days will have expired, and then it is our intent, hopefully, to come back on the remote. If you had to ask what checkpoint are we looking at that might close us down, it would be 8% or higher positivity for 3 consecutive days, reported by Region 10 and the Cook County Department of Public Aid. The Illinois State Department of Public Health. But 8% is the point at which we would be looking at this. Right now, it's surging all over the country. I have no comment on that. I have no idea what's going on. But I do believe that if we are careful, if we are masked, if we are socially distant, if we're taking temperatures, if we're constantly sanitizing, then we should be okay. That's not to say that there will not be problems. There always are. But just as we handled other problems. But I think it's interesting, in the summer, Southland was open for summer school. There were no issues at all. Nothing. Not one contact, not one issue. So that's where we are. If there are no questions, I'd like to move on to something very, very positive. At least I think it's going to be positive. Mr. Robert Lane is here. He is, of course, our Director of College Admissions and Alumni Services. Mr. Lane, have you heard from the students what is happening with our seniors? And good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Here I am. Well, good evening to everyone out there. It is great to see the board. It's been a long time, and I'm glad Dr. Davis did provide a disclaimer, because I admittedly have a very positively lean presentation. So I want to say that up front, because I think, particularly with all the challenges that we face,
It's hard to hear.
Is that better?
Mr. Bean, can you hear him now?
Is that better, Mr. B?
Yeah, this is Vinny, and I can hardly hear him too.
No.
Can you give us one moment, please? Why don't
Thank
you?
Hi, Vinny.
Hi, everyone. My computer, I need a new one, so that's what's going to happen tomorrow.
We're going to test again. Mr. Lane?
Good evening. Is that better for everyone?
That's much better.
All right. All right. Again, I want
Thank
to, I was going to provide a disclaimer that my presentation will lean positive. So I didn't want you to think that this was unintentional. It is very intentional, because I think in these moments where we have to address the realities of our situation, I'm glad to bring some sunlight, if that's possible. So I appreciate the opportunity, and it's been such a long time since I've been able to see the board. So good evening to everyone, and thank you for your time. I provided a very brief presentation with respect to the fact that our world continues to move, and we've made a commitment to our families here at Southland College Prep. And regardless of the circumstance, we have to be undeterred in our mission to fulfill the needs of our families and to continue to fulfill those dreams. This year's focus was created by our new director, Dr. Levy, and he sat us down in our leadership team and said that we must be stronger together. And that became kind of our theme going into the year. And it's the theme that I'd like to bring to you, because it's how we've been able to persevere. And so, Mr. Evans, next slide. I just want to share quickly just some things that I think are already known, but it's important that we recognize where we're moving. We did meet our goals last year in spite of any of the challenges that we faced with the pandemic. We had a goal of 100% college acceptance and 30 million in scholarships. As I'm sure you are aware, we not only met those goals, we doubled them with 60 million in scholarships last year, which is actually a new record. And took us to over 200 million in cumulative scholarships for our students. Donnell Farrow is a young man at Morehouse College remotely. Next slide. First-time acceptances, we think, are very important to know. For those members of the board who can remember the meeting minutes when Mr. Anderson was here, I know that he wanted to state for the meeting minutes for years that one of our goals is that we would get students accepted to Brown University. I hope you guys remember, Mr. Bean, I know you do. And we have never forgotten that. And I'm happy to report that not only did we achieve that goal this year, we had 2 students accepted to Brown. So this does put us 7 for 7. Our students have now been accepted to all of the Ivy League institutions. And I know Mr. Anderson is definitely laughing out loud in his normal jovial way. So let the minutes reflect, Ms. Washington, that mission accomplished, Mr. Anderson. Next slide. First-time enrollees, we think is very important. In spite of the pandemic, our students and families have really continued to be courageous and venture forward. So students are fluttering throughout the country. We have enrollees for the first time this year at Dartmouth, Johns Hopkins, Lehigh, McAllister, NYU, Syracuse, USC, UVA, Rochester, and the University of San Francisco. Again, in a pandemic year, our students are undeterred. As I mentioned, every Ivy League school, 200 million in scholarships. Again, great work to the class of 2020. It was obviously a difficult year for them, and a lot of the things I think they expected to end their year were not able to be delivered. But most importantly, they were still able to deliver these things to their families, and they are moving on and outward. 2 of our huge metrics that we do every year, and we have to continue, is what is our percentage enrollment. Last year's goal was that we had 90% or better, and we literally hit that mark on the dot. So our actual reported by the National Clearinghouse is exactly 90%. So 90% of our students did enroll over the course of the first year of college last year.
Wow.
In relation to persistence, again, this is the most important metric, as we all know. It is not about getting accepted. It's not about enrolling. It's about persisting to and through college. Last year's goal was 85% reported persistent, and we did hit that mark again. So our cumulative Southland persistence rate since our inception is exactly 85%. As you know, that far exceeds national metrics. It far exceeds metrics with respect to the demographic that we serve, and we were able to continue. Just selfishly, we did put Jocelyn Dorney here, as she is our second graduate of Yale University, and I'm happy to report she's at Yale in graduate school. So she is still there and was accepted to a master's in public health program at Yale.
Fantastic.
All right. A few updates. So the class of 2020, we are tracking, and I have actually pretty good news to report. I think because of the pandemic, we have an exceptional enrollment rate. Kids have nothing else to do, so they can't go out and get jobs. So guess what? They are enrolling in college. We will have official numbers probably closer to November, when the National Clearinghouse will provide documentation, but we anticipate between a 93 to 98% enrollment rate for the class of 2020. That may beat our highest rate ever. Our inaugural class in 2014 was 97%. So we're hoping that we can meet or exceed our personal best. And you should know, for the record, our first year students are about half and half in person, half and half remote. Most of the students who were in person will be returning over the next couple of weeks because, as I'm sure Dr. Radner and Dean Meyer know, a lot of schools are shutting down in early November. So we anticipate most of our students who are in school in person will be reporting back shortly. Thank you. Our mission, we had 8 points that we shared at our Teacher Institute and also at the Administrators Retreat. The one that I want to speak to is the obvious question: how do we continue to maximize collegiate outcomes in the age of the coronavirus? How do we deliver the same collegiate outcomes with this unparalleled situation? It is not easy. It's been 2 months. It feels like it's been 20 months, but we do have some current updates and we want to share that with you briefly. All right. First, I will talk a little bit about the challenges. We have 139 seniors. I believe it's our largest class ever. Let's not include that in the minutes, but I think it is. And so we have the largest class ever, and now they're all remote, and we're trying to get them all in college. We're trying to get them up to speed and using some of the platforms that traditionally we can work with them here in person. So that is not easy. We've spent at least 3 to 4 weeks just getting them up to speed and using Naviance and Common App as traditional platforms. Normally we can get that done in about 5 days. It's taken weeks to do it. But the good news is we still got started early enough so that we're far ahead of the curve. And I just shudder to think how other high schools are out there trying to navigate the process. So it's been a learning curve to certainly get this done remotely. Parents and students certainly have a lot of anxiety. They just don't know if they're doing enough because they're at home. And so there's a lot of that just unknown anxiety that I think our families are facing because we're just not here. And students are at home trying to manage coursework, but also manage the collegiate application process. Types of learners is a challenge. Some students just simply need face-to-face college advising. And many times there are a lot of students who may not speak up normally, but could stop by an office for college advising. Those opportunities are closed. So we have to obviously fill those needs. And the greatest challenge, and again, I'm sure many of the members of the board are aware, there are multiple, conflicting, and changing college policies with respect to applications. Every school, it seems, out of the 5,000 out there, have a different policy with respect to the application and also with respect to testing. The national story is that colleges and universities are all test optional. I'm sure Dr. Radner, Dean Meyer knows that's not true. That is not true whatsoever. So many families, unfortunately, are in very difficult situations because all colleges are not test optional. And furthermore, when it comes to scholarship opportunities, schools are not test blind. Many schools are still requiring test scores in order to be considered for scholarship opportunities. Fortunately, Dr. Davis and the Southland team and the leadership has been able to do that. So we have had an opportunity, as Dr. Davis said, for all of our students to sit for the ACT, and the SAT is coming. But that is certainly a challenge. Trying to manage the college process for 139 students with colleges that are shifting from week to week about their policies is a bit of a challenge. All right. I have good news. There are a couple positive shifts that have happened because of COVID. I promised positivity. So I thought long and hard. Number one, meeting with parents is a lot easier. Thanks to technology, we all kind of remembered that we can meet with parents electronically, just in the way that we're meeting right now. We've had an opportunity to meet with parents at dinner time, right before dinner time, after dinner time. So that is creating a new bridge that certainly we will continue to leverage in the years to come. And the biggest one I definitely want to speak to is our alumni involvement. We have continued with our college presentation series, and we do have 34 schools that have reached out to us to do remote presentations. Because of the remote model, our alumni have actually played a major role in our presentations. So almost every presentation that we've had for this year's seniors has not only been with some of the nation's best schools, but we've been able to get our alumni to actually participate in a lot of the presentations, which has been extremely positive and productive. In closing, Just some alumni updates. I share a lot with Dr. Davis, and I'm sure she shares it with the board, but I could go for hours about this, but I'll just share a couple. Kennedy Furness, you guys may remember, she is one of our alumni that had a great opportunity to work with Senator Durbin and took those opportunities to Marquette, where she ultimately not only graduated, but spent a semester at Marquette in Washington, D.C., and worked on the Hillary Clinton campaign. Happy to report that she actually came back to Southland as an intern, helping me with the college process. But the bad news is she just left because she was, number one, called back from furlough, which is what led her to us. And secondly, she's in the throes of applying to law school because she popped out 160 on the LSAT, which is, if you guys know anything about that, that's a T14 law school score. So that's a top 14.
Wow.
So we are very excited for Kennedy. Considering she probably get a recommendation from Dick Durbin and Hillary Clinton, and she's got some serious LSAT scores, keep an eye on what that situation looks like. So kudos to Kennedy. I'm very upset she's gone. It's more work for me, but I'm happy for her. Josh Matoyer, I just love to mention this. This is a young man who graduated and found many different pathways to get through his journey. He was just sworn in last week, Mrs. Simpkins, as a Bradley University police officer. So we are so proud of him. He's still working on his degree and is actually a sworn police officer.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Amen to that. We have students who are in law school. You guys may remember Imani Thornton. She was in the first graduating class, 2014, Princeton University. She graduated in 4 years and got a master's at UCLA in African American Studies. And she just started this semester at Columbia University Law School. So she is the first Southland alum to actually begin her law school plan in the first class. And she's got Princeton, UCLA, and Columbia under her belt. We can go on and on and on, but I know my time is short. I have to end with a former Ron Blackstone winner. You guys may remember the Ron Blackstone Award. And I think it's just fitting that Evan Blocker, which was one of our first Ron Blackstone Award winners, has not only graduated from the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, but he's returned as a math graduate and working in Matson School District 162 as a math teacher. So kudos to Mr. Blocker. I think Dr. Davis, the scholarship served him well. So, yeah, I didn't think you knew that. So I let the record state in the minutes that Evan was a Ron Blackstone Scholarship winner. Our goals have not changed, COVID-19 or not. We expect 100% college acceptance. We have increased the scholarship goals, and we will continue with our enrollment and persistence.
Thank you, Mr. Lane.
Thank you.
To end on that note, but
Thank you.
we do want to open ourselves up to any questions or comments, please.
This is Vinny. I just want to say kudos to the entire team. This is why we do it.
And this is a team effort, even more so. But I do want to thank you also. I don't know how you're feeling out there, but you persevere, and I always know that you're there. If I need something, I reach out. There's always a response. And so I'm very, very grateful because, as you know, this is a time where things are fluctuating and we don't know what will happen ultimately in terms of the destiny of public education. But I do know that we must fight this through with every bit of energy that we have on behalf of the children. I know that to be a fact, but I think we will close in this way, and very possibly we may open in August with the virus still permeating our environment. And so thank you for your courage, but also thank you for your support.
Well, thank you for your leadership. We could not do what we do without your talent and leadership. And I thank the board members for their participation and input. So we now stand adjourned. Thank you much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Aye.
You're at home, so you're
We'll
safe.
not- We will not have another, we will not have another meeting for Thanksgiving, so happy
Oh,
Thanksgiving.
wow.
Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Everybody take care.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
Dr. Davis
Thank you.
Dr. Dave, yeah, Dr. Davis is there. If there's anything I can do, please let me know.
Thank you, Vinny. Next time I want to see your face.
Oh, you will, because I will have a brand new computer.
Okay.
I'm just so angry because I was like, I'm on time okay, take care. But seriously, if there's anything I can do,
Thank you.
let me.
Mr. Lane, could you send me a copy of your report?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, he will.
Okay, thank you.
I too would like a copy of that as well.
We'll send it to all board members. We will.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and did you hear my request as well?
Good night.
Yes.
Okay,
I
great.
did,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Murphy, always.
Thank you,
Always.
thank you, thank you.
Good night.